The FNB Art Joburg is set to begin tomorrow, along with two other fairs in Johannesburg. The fair is now 100% black-owned after its director, Mandla Sibeko, acquired it from ArtLogic. He joins me now in studio. Thanks very much for joining us, Mandla.
Thank you very much for having me.
Good stuff. So just tell us a bit about what happens at an art fair and the business aspect behind it.
Look, the previous art fair, the FNB Joburg Art Fair, was actually quite pioneering. It was the first art fair in Africa. For that matter, I think a lot of audiences and people in Joburg didn't realize that. So what it really does do is it's a platform where you bring artists and you're able to bring collectors and also introduce audiences to new art so that people can actually buy and also learn. Because we don't have a lot of institutions like museums as they have in Europe, like there are plenty in Paris, in all the major cities in the world, and we have very few of them here. So the art fair actually serves as an educational tool.
Is it very much an Afro-focused fair, or does it, blend all the global art that there is to look at?
If you look at our evolution, what's exciting about the FNB Art Joburg is that we've actually had to rebrand ourselves, because globally there's been such a big shift. In the last 5 years, there's been such an interest in African art, and also the galleries that exhibit at our fair have a lot of African artists now, more than they ever did in the last 8-7 years. So what has started to happen is that we've positioned the fair to become very appealing to, and also reflective to, people who actually live here in Johannesburg, who come from the rest of the continent and from all over the world. So the fair itself is very Pan-African. It celebrates the best of African artists.
That's excellent. So I understand that you've been quite vocal, writing about transformation being needed to happen in the art space. And of course now you're an owner.
Yes.
Is that a positive step? Are there more Mandlas out there?
Look, I think it's a positive step. A lot of the artists in the country who are doing very well are black, and we still have a long way to make sure that South Africans who live in this country actually support and celebrate black artists and artists who are coming from South Africa and from the continent. I think it's an incredibly important step. The first time I walked into an art fair, it was predominantly white South Africans, and I've seen the change in the last 5-6 years, that these spaces are now becoming even more diverse. So art is not a place that is reserved for others, it's reserved for everyone. I think it's really important that we must not only have artists who are excellent, as we do have a lot of exciting and excellent artists who celebrate it across the world, but we must also have administrators who are black and who are behind the scenes, who are running the businesses, so that we can really rise up to, I guess, what is South Africa, the new South Africa.
You've touched on it a little bit, the elitism that's associated with art. Is that slowly changing, and what do South African families need to do, in order to get our youngsters interested early on, so that it doesn't seem like it's just something for, for the few?
First and foremost, I think our education system needs to change. It needs to open up the curriculum so that children who are growing up in all our public schools can actually have access to learning about art. It's been proven so many times from so much research that art is a good thing for, it helps with your other part of the brain, your creative processes. You cannot have leaders in this country who can't solve the problems. I think we know that living here and living anywhere else in the world has become quite complex, and I think if art education was brought in at a school level, people could learn creative skills around how to solve problems. So I do think that the first thing is the curriculum, and the second thing is really for parents to engage more with going into these spaces and not be afraid. Yes, a lot of us, people like myself and you, don't come from, I guess, backgrounds where art is there, but I think that we must really push that we take our children to see these spaces and inspire them, so because they have to be the leaders of this country and leaders in the world.
Indeed. Mandla, thank you very much for coming into studio. That was Mandla Sibeko. He's the owner of the FNB Art Joburg fair that's starting tomorrow.